or even discussable except on a one-to-one basis. In writing to you today, I'd like to ask you a question. Is it possible to be a Christian without an inerrant Bible? I don't quite buy the idea that if there is some errancy, the whole thing collapses. After all, some statements out of a given set may be true and some may be false. Which or which can be separated by reference to externals, for example, historical scholarship or archaeology, unquote. In response to this, I said, I appreciate your gracious comments, but would like to respond to your question. First, whether or not one can be a Christian while doubting the Bible's inerrancy is a question that should be directed to Christians in general. We are far more concerned with ascertaining what is accurate and consistent than ascribing labels to groups and individuals. Who's a Christian and who isn't is of far less importance to us than who's telling the truth and who isn't. Second, once you admit the Bible has errors, you're going to have a hard time proving it came from a perfect being. How are you going to prove it's God's Word? How can a perfect being produce an imperfect book? And third, once you admit there are errors and mistakes within the Bible, you face the hurdle of separating that which is true from that which isn't. At that point, opinions, theories, guesstimates, preferences, and feelings assume control. As subjectivity comes in the door, objectivity goes out the window. What is your criterion for determining what is true? You say that true and false statements can be separated by reference to externals. For example, historical scholarship and archaeology. Even those scholars are by no means in agreement with respect to historical events. But even more importantly, hundreds of biblical contradictions, such as theological and doctrinal conflicts, are entirely contained within the text. How are they going to be resolved? How, for example, are you going to provide historical or archaeological information to resolve the contradictions contained in the two pamphlets we distribute? They were brought forth on our earliest programs, if you remember. How are you going to use historical information to determine whether or not the Trinity or original sin are rational concepts? Perhaps I'm wrong, but I sense a religious background in your philosophy that you can't seem to jettison. Finally, we thought we'd wrap up today's presentation by recommending some of the best pieces of literature to ever have been written on the Bible's failings. Many writings should definitely be brought to the attention of all concerned. For openers, I would recommend that great classic, The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine, one of America's founders, which focuses on many aspects of the Bible, especially prophetic inaccuracies. The Bible Handbook by Foot and Ball, and Self-Contradictions of the Bible by William Burr are very good if you want a short synopsis of many direct biblical contradictions. John Remsburg wrote two exceptional books entitled The Bible and The Christ, which focus on the Old and New Testaments, respectively. I read both nearly 20 years ago and was impressed by the number of biblical contradictions and other problems that Remsburg was able to bring to the fore and highlight. A real eye-opener for the beginner is a work by Joseph Wheelis entitled, Is It God's Word? This is one of the writings upon which I broke my biblical teeth ages ago. It's a definite recommend. Two excellent Jewish writings devoted to exposing the distortion of the Old Testament by Christian scholars, especially in regard to Messianic prophecy, are The Jew and the Christian Missionary by Gerald Siegel and The Real Messiah by Rabbi Kaplan. Another excellent Jewish critique of Christianity is entitled Hizah Umanah, or Strengthening of the Faith, by the Karaite Jew Abraham Trokai, which emerged during the late Middle Ages. Undoubtedly one of the best, if not the best, Muslim critique of Christianity in general, and the Bible in particular, providing you're able to discount all the Islamic propaganda and indoctrination, is The Bible, the Quran, and Science by the French Muslim Maurice Bucaille. Another good Muslim critique of Christianity and Jesus is Jesus, a Prophet of Islam by Muhammad Atta-ur Rahim. The Bible Unmasked by Joseph Lewis is a good source for those interested in biblical immoralities, degeneracies, and depravities. Originally issued in 1926, it's currently enjoying its 26th edition. The work by Kersey Graves, entitled The World's 16 Crucified Saviors, is well known for exposing the similarity between Jesus and other alleged saviors. The Mythical Jesus by Patrick Campbell is quite good if you want a short, clear idea of the problems associated with Jesus. And lastly, the former Catholic priest Joseph McCabe produced an avalanche of short critiques of the Bible, including such fine works as Did Jesus Ever Live? And The Forgery of the Old Testament. I'll try to recall more titles later as time goes by. It's crucial to note, however, that before anyone can understand and critique the Bible effectively, he must have a thorough knowledge of its contents. That goes without saying for a book so comprehensive. In a later program, I intend to give a detailed presentation of the study procedures I'd recommend to those interested in analyzing the Bible more realistically. That completes our presentation, and please join us later for the 24th edition of Biblical Errancy Commentary, when we'll continue showing why the Bible is nothing more than the flawed composition of some fallible human beings. Thank you for listening.